Okay, we're going to assume we're live here. Josh Nichols, James Gilbert here. We are doing a little bit of a digital update. We're going to start trying to get these in for our folks that are trying to maybe get a little bit of extra weather. Late morning, a lot going on for us to talk about here.
It's midday, and you might be getting ready for your lunch break and thinking about heading out and about. Yeah. And hopefully you left the house with a nice warm jacket and the usual winter wear, because you didn't need it yesterday at this time. We were starting to make our way into the 40s. Right,
yeah. Very mild there. Was in place for a long time. We were about 15 degrees colder than that, I would assume.
Our top temp in Rochester officially was 44 yesterday.
Oh, okay,
and so now we're dipping into the 20s soon. And of course, combine that with the wind. And effectively, we're some 25 degrees colder.
Yeah, and then, of course, we have the passing snow showers, too, right? And you can see those here. Satellite and radar showing, a classic kind of lake effect jumble, I would call it, where we don't necessarily have one band that's organized quite yet.
It's a multi-band pattern.
Multi-band pattern,
yeah.
Scattered lake effect snow showers that can briefly reduce visibility in some spots. And I was trying to figure out whether or not there was an upwind connection, Upper Lakes connection.
There is certainly a connection here with Lake Erie.
Okay.
We can definitely make that out here a little bit.
Yep.
It's trying. Okay, here's Georgian Bay right here. And it's trying, but I think it doesn't really succeed until later tonight.
Okay, yeah. So that's when we'll start to see some more organized bands overnight. And into tomorrow, that's when the winter storm watch is in effect as well.
The heating of the day tends to disrupt these things as well. And so it's always during the night when we have that, we eliminate that daytime convection, where we can start to see a more consolidated effect to the band.
Right. And so some of the spots that are seeing some of the heaviest, I would say, once you get close to Kendall, maybe seeing some snow, probably working its way into Parma. It looks like, I would say, maybe west of Rondequoit getting some snow. Some of the heaviest, probably Wayne County, I think.
Yeah, and the band has been pretty organized most of the morning here out along the 104. This is a very famous corridor region right here. We call this the 104 corridor. Route 104 being sort of a line of demarcation, as it were, where these bands tend to be a little bit more organized, and they tend to have a little bit more resident time, as it were, right through this area. And seems to be a pretty good bet that later tonight that band is really going to consolidate more, and we're going to get some pretty good snowfall rates, hence the, as you mentioned, the winter storm watch.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that while this is, the scan beam is, 10, 15, 20,000 feet up, so I think we might be even missing some thickness of this band here.
Syracuse band should be, I didn't check, but it should be activated. Without that Syracuse beam going, we would be hard-pressed to see very much here.
Right, okay, so we're seeing at least a little bit out of it.
Yeah.
Finger Lakes, you think we're going to see some snow there, but probably not more than an inch or so?
Yeah, I mean, my thinking right now is about a coating to an inch down here through areas south of the Thruway, probably about a 1 to 3 zone here from Rochester, south and east into the Finger Lakes, Canandaigua, for example. Might pick up on a couple of inches. And again, a lot of this is going to be, this band is settling south, so you pick up a quick inch in Canandaigua probably in the next, hour or two. Similar in the Finger, but it'll break up as it goes inland.
Yeah.
And then the next round that comes in later tonight, probably after midnight, that's when we're going to start to see conditions deteriorating into Wayne County in particular.
Right, so you have a mile and a half visibility. That's at the Rochester Airport, so that clearly shows we've got some lake effect around. Current temperatures, look at these winds, 10, 15 miles per hour. That's probably gusting even higher than that in some of those spots. And
a little bit,
Futurecast here, now this isn't verifying because it's only got one band, and that was at 10:30, 11 o'clock, and obviously there was a lot more on radar, so I think the initialization might be a little bit off with this, and a lot of times it usually is with lake effect. It has a tough time kind of figuring out exactly where these set up.
It's a finicky beast to try to project.
Right. So we put the wind, I put the wind on here, right? So we can basically say whenever there's those streamlines that are going from Lake Ontario to on land, there's probably going to be some flakes around. You would think, Josh?
Yeah, that's a safe bet. Yeah.
And then so you know, I don't think we see any significant organizing through 6 p.m., but I do think we could have some snow around for the evening commute.
Right, you know, we have to keep this in mind. You know, visibility can vary dramatically within a very short space. You could be right under that band, and it could be, you know, quarter mile, half mile, mile, what have you.
Right.
And then you just go a few hundred feet away from the band, and, you know, you've got practically clear sky or, you know, good visibility.
Yeah.
So just remember, variability is the key word here, you know, going forward for a little while.
Yeah, and I think, you know, sometimes you can run into snow on the roads as well, where you're going and there's nothing on the road at all, and not only do you run into reduced visibility, but you run into an area that there's no plowing because it could have been a quick burst of lake effect snow for 30 minutes, a half an inch of snow.
Well, I try to not judge the plowing situation out here very often.
Right. Well, here's a time when we're going to see that organizing. This is overnight into tomorrow morning, 2:30 in the morning tomorrow morning.
And by the way, I'm not quite sure which projection this is, which model projection it is, but that's okay because most of the models have had agreement. Most of our we use a lot of short fuse models to try to peg where these bands are going. And all of the indications that I've seen, you know, we use a vast variety of them. We've got an in-house model, we've got a local Canadian 2.5 kilometer model that's really good as of late, and all of them suggest this consolidation overnight into early tomorrow. So, you know, if you have travel overnight in particular, and there's not too many, but I know if you work shift work, you know, that 11A, that graveyard shift, 11 p.m. to 7A.
Sure.
And you're coming in from Wayne County into Rochester or vice versa, you're going to run into some near whiteout conditions at times.
And it's really a classic conversion situation where you have, of course, the winds without any friction over Lake Ontario, and then you add a little bit of friction over land, and that can take a west wind to make it slightly southwest, and then you have that conversion. And, of course, that band can move just a little bit south and then just really give a 2 to 3 inch per hour snowfall rate for some of those areas in Wayne County.
Right. But remember, the band is, you know, probably going to line up, even though we think it's going to line up over Wayne, it could be northern Wayne, it could be southern Wayne. You know, sometimes that just makes all the difference. Just that little bit of a wind shift can make all those subtle little changes. So what you really shouldn't peg, you really shouldn't just, you know, look at this as gospel truth.
That's what the forecast is.
Right. Because this could vary by, you know, a few miles.
Yeah. And that's exactly what it's going to do. Looks like it should shift southward a little bit by tomorrow morning, I think, and that could scrape across Rochester and then push even further southward.
And notice again, 1:30 in the afternoon here, James. It breaks apart again. That function of the heating of the day, breaking it apart, becomes more cellular versus consolidated into one band, the likes of which it likes to do overnight.
Yes, and then that continues. So I'm thinking this time frame, I'm curious to see Thursday afternoon, if before we see that wind shift, if we do see a couple of small streamers.
Oh, it's not out of the question.
Afternoon.
Right. You know, honestly, radar does just a lousy job picking up on that.
Right.
No radar really does a fine job. When it's 15 degrees, you've got a northerly wind, the air is very dry, very hard to pick up on that snow. But a lot of times when we do get a north wind, great big area of Arctic high pressure to the north, northerly flow coming down like this, you get what looks like, it almost looks like fingers, if you were to, like a monster, you know, just like this, you know, with lots of fingers like that, and you get these fine filaments of snow that come in on a northerly wind, and then you get, quick half inch, 3/4 inch, you know, and it's all pure fluff. I call it fairy dust. You just, and it's gone.
Right, exactly. Barely even have to brush off your car to get that impact. And then the winds turn out of the southwest.
Good news. That's always a key around these parts to watch when the lake snow leaves.
Cuts off.
Right, because the Arctic ridge of high pressure, once you get that subsidence that takes place, and that wind shift, when the axis of the ridge moves overhead, it shuts down. It's almost like a light switch.
Yeah, right. And so I think once we get that, that's when we see the big changes. So recap, you know, cold air is here with us through tonight,
no
through
escaping
tomorrow.
that, right.
We've got the lake snows, and then it's a pretty sunny weekend. You know, once those winds turn, high pressure.
I'm always a little hesitant to forecast full sunshine in Rochester in the winter. But this is a pretty big high. As long as the ridge axis is overhead, we should forego you know, most of the cloud cover. Can't rule out a little bit of lake effect cloud cover, I think, early Friday. But, you know, with a ridge in place, it's a fair bet. I don't know if it's 100% sunshine, but it's more sunshine than we've probably seen in a while.
Yeah, and if it's not sunny for us, it's going to be sunny in the mid-Atlantic, in much of the Northeast, in the Southwest. I think any travelers this weekend, anywhere across the eastern half of the United States, really not much of an issue.
Unusually quiet on the big scale.
Yeah, right, which is nice. So that's nice. This is a rare pattern for sure, and as I mentioned, it's not just us. It's kind of nice to see for those folks maybe doing that Florida trip. Or coming back from Florida, if they went there for kids' breaks, maybe. Really no issues for travel Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
You made a lot of people jealous just by saying Florida.
Some people are out there. Okay, well, that should do it. We're going to try to make sure these are put out relatively, at least on active weather days. We'll do these 11 o'clock updates. So thank you guys all for watching. We appreciate it. And Josh is going to be on noon.
That's right. Make sure you tune in to News 8 at noon. We'll be right here. I'll be here with Mark Gruba. Give you the very latest. And in the meantime, stay warm, stay safe.
Sounds good. Thank you.